So that's a serious difference. They can leave open that Alistar still. They can pick up Alistar themselves. So we'll see how they turn things around. We'll see if they ban that Rumble again. And the big thing is I think they're scared of Zion Spartan. And you see that in those bans. York and Rumble, those are champions that Zion Spartan will play a lot of. And he is an incredibly powerful top lane. Like, guys, seriously, respect Zion Spartan's top lane if you do not already. And I think Dignitas right now, they're concerned about, Crumbs falling behind early like he did in that last game. But Aurelia, to be perfectly honest, was just so devastating. And having the Alistar ganks to follow, or the Nocturne ganks to follow up, was a crushing blow for Dynamic or for Dignitas. So we'll see where they go now. They will have the Alistar themselves, so they're going to have a little bit more early game aggression. They should hopefully have control of the jungle if they decide to go with that Alistar, or they might decide to go with that Skarner again. So they've really been playing a lot of Skarners since being over in Korea. It is pretty popular with some of the teams over there, like Azubu Blaze, and it has worked out generally for them. The ban, though, we won't get to see it.
Alistar getting the hit with that last ban right there from Dynamic. That does leave Malphite open, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So Malphite is open, is available. That could be a huge pickup for Dignitas, but they're also thinking, too, well, why don't we just grab the Aurelia?
Yeah.
That's an option for us as well. I believe...
Ezreal or Zyra.
That may be a Zyra.
I would have said it was a Zyra, except for the fact that he already did the Evelyn is Ezreal thing. So, we'll see where they go with that.
See.
Zyra would be a very strong first pick, but so would Ezreal. Ezreal would be fine. It's a very safe first pick. Now, all of a sudden, Malphite is open, and is it Zyra?
It's not Zyra.
It could be Ezreal, but the issue is if they left open Ezreal against Zyra and Malphite. So we'll see if they take it.
Man.
Yes, they did. So
huge.
Really strong first picks for Dynamic. And here's where Dignitas is looking to go now. They have Ezreal. They can also pick up Ahri. I haven't really seen Skara play a lot of Ahri, but if he's moving into that style, both Ezreal and Ahri work very well. No, I guess they first pick Zyra. It must have been a Zyra.
They're trolling us. They're trolling us.
So they grabbed the Zyra pick. So Dignitas, that's a really strong first pick. Now, here's the benefit of going against Dynamic's team right now. Malphite is so powerful. Oh, you know what? I just realized this isn't Patoy playing Lulu. This is Dynamic not allowing Patoy to play Lulu since he's been crushing their bottom lane. Zion Spartan, he is going to have that Malphite pick. It could go over to Atlanta in the jungle, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, because one of the issues with Zion Spartan playing Malphite is, yes, he will be very strong, but Malphite's not a champion that can shut down someone very easily in the top lane. He'll be very strong later in the game, but usually Malphite, you don't see him just completely abusing someone, and they want Zion Spartan to be on a champion where he's going to be able to just steamroll Crumbs and try and get them an advantage in that top lane, which is why we could see that Malphite pick go to the jungle.
Yep. And also, I've tried this for myself. I've seen it once or twice, and there are still a lot of pros still rumbling about the AD Lulu top lane.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fun lane to try at least.
Yep.
It's enjoyable.
It is enjoyable.
I don't know what to say about it other than that. It's a very strong lane, to be honest.
It's enjoyable for you, because if you get the right matchup, just that glitter lance, the slow, the damage, the harass can just be way too much.
They could also go with the Lux top lane.
They could also go with that Lux top lane I was thinking about.
Zig, I'm not sure what it is about Lux, but every game that we've seen Zig in for the past month, he's been, starting off with the Lux, ooh, am I going to pick Lux? And then he all of a sudden switches off.
Dude, what if he actually
he
does?
Just likes seeing her smile.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. But what if he actually does it face off or something? It was I thought I was trolling. You know what? No, why not?
Then we will all point and laugh and make fun of him.
I will not. I will give him a high five. I will. I'll give him a high five with the in the vein of a final spark. I'll just run up full blast at him. He'll be right at me. Just the high five will be of such force that lasers will pop out everywhere and rainbows will appear over San Francisco.
Oh dear God, that sounds magical.
That'd be hugely magical. That'd be that would be immense. That'd be absolutely immense. And but if it were possible, but alas, it is not. But if I think hard enough, maybe it will be. Corki
you just
and
have to
Ahri,
click your heels together
just
and,
a little bit.
say there's no place like home a couple of times. But yeah, we will see. Very safe picks for Dynamic, and they have a lot of damage. They have the follow-up for the Malphite. It should be interesting, stealing away that Lulu. So as a result of that, Dignitas, they actually don't want to go with the Ezreal. So not having that Ezreal-Lulu combo, they switch over to Graves and Janet, which is also a very strong bottom lane. They can push towers very easily. And so mostly what they're going to try and do there is just push Corki into the tower. Now with the Zyra, we'll see where they go top lane. They could go with an Olaf. Crumbs does play some Olaf, and Olaf does very well against Malphite. They could go with a Vladimir as well if they'd like to. Grabbing the Maokai, though, will be a very strong jungle, and there's the Olaf pick. So they have a very strong jungler. Maokai has just been phenomenal lately. We've seen a number of teams really, just getting him and playing him any chance that they get. So we'll see, what kind of pressure he can put on the map.
Still have one more pick coming in from Dynamic, and it's gonna determine
Nocturne.
where Malphite's gonna be. It could be Nocturne.
Yeah.
Or we can also get who beats Olaf in the
Well,
top
they could
lane
go
there?
with Aurelia again, and
They could.
they could go Aurelia and then send Malphite into the jungle. And the big reason they would want to do that is if they think that Zion Spartan can shut down Crumbs. And Aurelia versus Olaf is actually a very even lane matchup. It can be to Olaf's advantage sometimes if Olaf gets off to a nice lead because of the true damage. You just smack Aurelia in the face whenever she tries to farm. However, Aurelia has that burst potential. Will have that killing potential. Again, won't have the same aggressive jungle to follow up on it. And so that's one thing that Aurelia had last game. Aurelia is really strong when paired with an aggressive jungler. And so, Malphite wouldn't give that presence until a little bit later. So we'll see where they go. Darius.
That was a random. They waited for it to time out. That was definitely a random.
It could be Darius, though.
It could
I can
be.
see the Darius. It's Shyvana.
Darius Shyvana. Okay,
so there we
yeah,
go.
there you go.
So no Darius. So that means that it is going to be Zion Spartan as Malphite in the top lane, which it is a very even lane against Olaf. And I've seen Malphite push around Olaf some in the past. It's just not very common. And Olaf usually does pretty well in that lane. But we'll see if Zion Spartan can get off to a nice start. Then he could be able to bully around Crumbs again. Particularly if he gets enough damage and whatnot. But the nice thing with Olaf versus Malphite, not only can the axes keep down the shield, but Olaf, because he's physical damage, but Malphite can't go into armor like he normally would against a physical bruiser because of the true damage. Olaf is still going to have enough damage to pick up those kills. And then also having the ultimate so that he's not going to just go down to Malphite's ultimate, and then in team fights, he's going to be able to run into that back line will be very strong, particularly against a not very mobile champion, Well, I guess Zyra's on their team. So Ari, they have a very mobile champion. So that's going to be a concern. Later on in team fights, whether or not Crumbs can get involved in fights, because all of Dynamics should generally be pretty safe. Like, he's not going to be able to threaten Zig on Corki at all. He's not going to be able to threaten Ari at all.
Yep, and also not to mention, remember, you have the Janna with that passive. Everyone's going to be moving a little bit faster. Everyone's got a little bit of spring in their step. So it's going to help Olaf there in the top lane get the harass he needs. That's going to help Maokai speed up through his jungle so he can go ahead and get more ganks on.
The way you just described Janna, it made me think that she was a late night men's commercial for, I don't know, certain products. But
she does have that taunt. She does have that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless,
you know the one.
Regardless, it should be a really exciting matchup. And I don't know. I think Maokai and Zyra is one of the strongest combos in the game in that mid lane. Just because Zyra has so much damage and so much range, if Maokai comes in for a gank, you get the twisted advance in for the snare, follow it up with Zyra's snare. It's really dangerous. Like it's going to be very difficult for Paradoxical to not die pre-6.
And remember, hidden passive.
Yeah, hidden passive. He's faster.
He's going to have one more movement speed.
Which allows him to kill Paradoxical that much more easily.
That much quicker, that much faster. It can be huge. It can be it's one movement speed. Yeah.
That one is just enough. He's going to barely get her.
Just one movement speed.
Yeah.
Just one. So everyone's back on in. Game should be loading up soon. To recap, these are not the bans. We'll go over the actual bans in just a second. We just had a remake because we had a placeholder there. Dignitas banned out Yorick, Nunu, and Rumble. Same exact thing as game number 1. Dynamic almost did the same. And Nivea and Shen were there before, but banning out the Alistar instead of the Malphite and allowed them to go ahead and grab it for
Oh.
themselves.
I was curious if, with all the TSM USA bans that we've been seeing over the weekend, if we would see any interesting bans here. And I got excited for a second with Dynamic, seeing the Zillion Zigs, and I was imagining ZZ Top as Dynamic's bans, but then I saw Dignitas's bans and realized I probably shouldn't have opened my mouth.
You probably should not have
But
mentioned that.
regardless, it should be an interesting game. Shyvana against Maokai is very strong in the jungle, and she will be able to put on a lot of pressure on the map. The movement speed to counter out Janna's passive, and that will be very nice. And
Yeah.
that's the big thing. Shyvana is a completely reactionary jungle. You don't usually look for ganks yourself. You can sometimes find opportunities. Top lane, maybe. Once Malphite hits 6, they can maybe try and press something. We'll see. But I think the big thing is that Shyvana is there to use her movement speed to try and get in after Dignitas engages. So after Dominate is looking for a gank, Shyvana's like, here I come to save the day. I'm on my way. Mighty dragon. So yes. That is the nice thing. We'll see how that can affect things, and if Atlanta can have nice positioning around the map.
Yep. I'm also I'm looking at the Graves Janet combo here from Dignitas, and this is something Dynamic is very familiar with because that was pretty much the bot lane they ran for all of IPL 4.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big things that actually got them to where they are today. It's just a very solid bot lane that no one would ever pick them out of. No one would ever counterpick a Janna. No one would ever just try and take out Graves out of fight. They would get that combo every single time. It's something they've known, it's something they've played as, and it's something they know how to play against. So Corki and the Lulu may do very well here because they know what to look for.
Yeah, no, it's we'll have to see how that kind of works out because you're right. They do know what to look for there. The big thing is in 1v1 situations, Corki and Lulu they do win against Janna and Graves. They are able to bully them around a little bit, but Graves with Janna can just constantly push into the turret, and so Corki's going to be so busy trying to keep minions off of his turret that they're not actually going to exchange a lot of harass. So
Right.
that's the benefit of the Corki Janna or the Graves Janna combo is that you can just constantly throw your enemy into the turret and not have to worry about any damage exchanges.
But look at Cutie Pie though, going for the flash cleanse, and they're looking to push, but they're not looking to be. Well, of course, they're looking to push. They're looking to be aggressive, but they're not exactly searching out for those kills. So if you do have presence there coming in from Atlanta on Shyvana, if you do happen to have the Ahri coming on down for a visit, that could turn around.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how that's going to play out. But Ari's mobility is just phenomenal, and having that follow-up presence, being able to roam around and pick up kills, that's a serious threat for Dignitas to consider. And that's just generally the mobility advantage that Dynamic has. Even though Dignitas has the Janna pick for that movement speed passive, Dynamic they have a little bit more mobility in their lanes. And Malphite against Olaf, both of them are very strong pushers, but one thing you see a lot of times with Malphite is he'll try and push up the lane and then leave top, go to mid, try and pick up some kills in the mid lane. Zyra could be vulnerable, so because she's a stationary lane, Zion Spartan should be able to ult in and try and pick up a quick kill with Ahri. Sets a serious threat for Skara in the mid lane. We'll see if they can pressure that. But Crumbs, as long as he keeps a nice lane edge, he will be able to push into the tower pretty easily and hopefully prevent Zion Spartan from leaving too much.
Plus, also the huge thing that you got to think about anyone who decides to leave lane. If you do see Ahri actually leaving quite often, that's just giving Scar time to free farm. And on a champ like Zyra that scales so well, that's capable of so much damage, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be doing that.
Oh, they're
going to
catch him. Dominate move.
That was kind of like awkward. It's like, oh, hi. Hello. Yeah. How are you? I'm doing fine. Okay, well, maybe you should back off because I can charm you. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Common courtesy there.
Oh, Daisy.
Oh, well. But Zig out in front with that bomb. Just trying to make sure you get vision there in that brush. Pixel get a nice ward there on the side bush. Scar will not be able to get a whole lot just standing there on the outskirts. And Dynamic got what they wanted. He got in, they got their ward, and they're going to leave.
Yeah, so they have vision of Maokai, but not going to slow down his jungle at all. They maybe could pressure him a little bit, try and steal his blue or something, but they're going to be comfortable sitting back. So we'll see where this goes from here. Graves, keeping point on that tri-bush down there, wants to make sure that they're going to be safe to take those mini golems if Janna makes her way down. That'll be some nice presence. Lulu, though, going top, they might actually go for a quick invade on the blue. They have enough time to do it. And so Maokai, they know he's down at the race. They know they have time to catch him out of position, and they can quickly steal this blue buff.
And they also know that if he's going to be making his way on up to just GTFO, but I think they're just actually going to stand on the side here. They may just camp out the bush and wait for him to come on in. They know he's on his way up. He got 3 members of Dynamic here sitting out in the bush, but here comes Crumbs. He thinks something's up. He is correct. Throws the axe on in. The exhaust goes down, and Crumbs is going to be going down here. First blood there for Atlanta.
And that's absolutely devastating for Dignitas. So not only is Maokai going to be behind right now, he doesn't have a lot of mana left. So his farm, his jungle is going to really struggle. He's not going to be able to get red buff. He's going to clear the wolves, and he's going to have to recall after that. So we'll see. He actually might be going for it. So he might be able to pick up the race again. They will be respawning shortly. Or he might be able to go for the red. I don't know. I guess he's going to go for the red. I didn't think he would have enough damage to do it. But now all of a sudden, they have a 2v1 top for Dynamic. And Dignitas, we were talking about in the previous matchup how Dignitas wanted to be the aggressors and how they wanted to just constantly push around Meat Playground. Now Dynamic, in Game 1 and in Game 2, they're making all of the plays. They're making all of the decisions. Crumbs is way behind right now, but Malphite, he's going to be fine with farming in that bottom lane.
Yep.
Crumbs, on the other hand, not so much. And then they're going to be able to take down the tower quickly. And it seems that Dynamic, they've adopted this aggressive pushing style as well. And Dominate, he couldn't take it. I didn't think he could. So he didn't have the smite. He had to sit back. And his jungle, he is so far behind right now compared to his Shyvana.
And a Shyvana who has, that's the thing she's known for. Quick clears, getting in, counter jungling. Dominate is pretty much now just a non-factor for a very long time. Could not even finish that red. We are not going to be seeing him pretty much at all here for the next few minutes. And in the meantime, though, you do have this lane switch happening here. So I think now it's just a matter of who can actually take out the tower first. Will it be Dynamic or will it be Dignitas? And PewDiePie, though, has been getting quite a bunch of health off of that bot tower. But here top lane, though, is a different story. It is perfect condition still.
Yeah, that is true. So right now, Dynamic, they can pressure Olaf a lot, but PewDiePie does have the pushing potential with Graves. So he has a little bit more potential to poke down that tower a little bit. So if they can take it down quickly, that can maybe work out for them. Usually, you don't want to take down the bottom turret. Like top turret, it's a little bit safer to take down.
Yeah.
Because if top turret, if they're able to farm, that's one thing. But if bot turret is able to push back to the second turret, it could be tough. It could shut down your AD carries farm, and you never want to do that. So we'll see where Dignitas goes with it.
Yep. So whoever does get that tower, whoever does get it first, they'll be able to go ahead and switch back their lanes just so you can go ahead and defend the other one. So this could be, PewDiePie's getting plenty of damage. It's already at half. That is incredible.
Yeah, so we'll see where they transition out of here. But right now, Shyvana with a huge advantage over Dominate. Dominate's starting to catch up a little bit. Once he gets a Philosopher's Stone, he should be okay, but his jungle is going to be very difficult, and he's not going to get any early ganks, and that's the big thing. It's not just how far behind he is, but the fact that Maokai, you expect Maokai to get off a lot of early pressure, particularly in that mid lane, but he just can't do it. So their entire early game is shut down right now, and Dynamic is just having their way with them. So we'll see how they can continue to pressure this. We do have, there is a Madreds onto Shyvana, so he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure onto that dragon as well in a couple of minutes.
Yep, and also in the event that Atlanta decides to go in for the counter invade, just go ahead, get some counter jungle going on. It's going to be that much quicker. It's going to be that much faster. It's going to just shut down Dominate even further if they decide to go with it. But for now, though, sitting on back, taking a little bit of a defensive stance here. Atlanta now showing up down into bot lane just to try and prevent a little bit of push, just making an appearance like, hey, back off, I'm here. You may not want to consider going in for that huge push next time, but they're going to do it anyway. PewDiePie still wants to get that damage. He wants that tower gone.
Yeah, they are both pushing the tower furiously. Top is almost down, bottom is almost down. There is a slight dragon advantage for Dynamic. So if they get this top turret, then they can transition down the bottom, try and take that dragon very quickly with Shyvana, like you said, and so that'll be a huge advantage for them. But right now, Dignitas, they have a nice job with some wards. Scar actually getting some quick burst onto Paradoxical, actually going for the ultimate. Paradoxical has to dash out of there, will be safe, but Scar with some pressure on the mid lane, so that's absolutely huge. If they can start putting pressure on the lanes, it alleviates some of the pressure in the other lanes. It opens up opportunities for Dignitas.
Atlanta's sticking around, wants to get some damage on PewDiePie, at the very least,
even
before that goes down. But yeah, there we go, even trade. Tower for tower, pretty much spot on from both of these teams. So now it's just a matter of, where do we go from here? Are we going to try and force the bluff? Are we going to stick around in the lane? Are we going to continue the push? Are you going to switch? Are you going to try and get an advantage in another lane? Because remember, for the time being now, despite that both towers are down, Dynamics AD is still top lane, still the furthest possible distance away from that dragon. But you see right now, Zig is recalling, going to go ahead and buy something nice for himself, grabbing the double Dorans and the move 2 boots. And are they heading towards bot? Lulu is at the very least.
Yeah, so we'll see how they try and pressure this. They're going to continue staying up in that top lane, so they don't want to pressure the dragon. Maybe a little bit concerned about the fact that Graves and Janet are still bottom. So, that will be an advantage for them. They know that they don't generally have to worry about the dragon control because Maokai is very weak at taking dragon. Zyra is very strong, and that counters it out a little bit. But for the most part, Dynamic, they can, roam around the map and not worry about Dignitas taking the dragon. So they can just continue to shut down Olaf, and that'll be nice. He has 1 gold per 10 right now, but, he's still going to be falling extremely far behind. And again, we already talked about how there's not a lot of targets for him. Corki's pretty safe, Ari's pretty safe. So in team fights, it's already going to be difficult for him to fight. But if he's behind and still, doesn't have any targets, that can make it even more difficult. So we'll see how Dynamic continues to pressure him, and if he can come back. He probably will leave lane a lot. Right now, he's trying to get some farm in the mid lane while they're pushing into him. Just try and keep up any way he can and allow them to push him to the second turret.
And because he's not going for kills, because he's not really making a whole lot of a lane presence, that reduces the opportunities that Atlanta has to actually go in for counter jungling. Because usually what you'll see is like, oh, my jungler's in X lane. Well, I'm going to go to their opposite jungle and start stealing their stuff. And since he hasn't really been showing himself, it's like, well, where's the opportunity? We don't know where he is. It's not a safe venture to go out and even attempt the counter jungle.
Oh, but Malphite is sitting mid. He wants to get that kill on Zyra. He might go in with it. The flash ultimate, but the flash from Scar, he's able to get out of there. The stun back, the ultimate as well. He's got a lot of damage, and now PewDiePie turning it around. Paradoxical coming right into him, but Atlanta over the wall, able to pick up that kill into Janet. Paradoxical with the quick burst, and Atlanta actually not able to chase down Patoy. Patoy with the Monsoon, or actually, I guess just a Whirlwind, was able to get out of there along with the flash. And so an even exchange, or no, an exchange in Dignitas' advantage.
Yep, just one.
Yeah, so Malphite trying to get that engagement. We talked about that earlier, how Malphite is going to want to try and get, that ultimate against Zyra. But Skara with the fantastic turnaround.
Very well done. Nice flash at the right opportunity. And that ult coming in from Skara as well is just so perfectly placed. It's like, you know what? You're trapped. You're in a very close quarter situation. There's no way you can get out of my ult. You used too much to try and pursue me. Here comes the rest of my team. Good luck. Great positioning from Atlanta, though. Fantastic positioning. Just could not actually connect with the rest of the damage to go ahead and get that kill.
And now Dynamic is going to grab this dragon, but it's only a 500k gold advantage. So, Dignitas.
500k?
Yes, it is 500k.
Half a million.
Dear
half a million
God,
gold in the lead.
Dignitas is so far behind.
$500,000.
There's so many items. They're basically all shopkeepers right now. They've got just infinity edges hanging off their back. No, it's 500 gold. And so there's the big thing is Dignitas, even though Dynamic was able to pressure them early, Dignitas is keeping this very even. The concern is getting Olaf into this game, and he should be fine now that he's matched up against Malphite. He does have a slight lead over Malphite, actually. So they both have the gold pretends, but 30 CS lead for Crumbs right now. So we'll see if he can continue that pressure. The tower being up on his side will allow that to push back into him. And so he doesn't generally have to worry about the ganks from Shyvana because he can just ult and ghost out of there. Not that big of a deal. But by pushing the tower, the wave into the tower, he knows he's always going to be safe. He knows he can just constantly farm against Malphite.
And obviously he's got the good ward coverage as well to know when Atlanta is in the area, when he needs to fall back, when he can go ahead and pursue. Pixel getting a little bit too far away from the Zig, but still the farming continues. And also remember, Dynamic here in this bot lane, they're going to be down, have a little bit of a disadvantage. Their tower's down. But Dominate trying to go for the steal. Scar is coming along right there as well, trying to keep it for himself. But Zig does have something to say about it. Paradoxical's on his way as well. Ari ult is up. Not going to choose to go after it. No charm over the wall. But may get something here. No, Orb will not get that touch.
Yeah, so Dignitas, nice job there. That'll shut down Ori a little bit. She won't quite be able to pick up the kills that she would like to. Scar, on the other hand, can continue to pressure that mid lane. So really nice job there. And also, by being able to pressure the bot and mid turret, it takes pressure off of top lane. So Crumbs, he can continue to sit up there. And every time that they make a play towards bot lane or towards mid lane, Shyvana starts having to work her way down there, and it leaves Crumbs safe to farm up top.
Very well done. Zion Spartan, though, it still has a little bit of worry there to try and defend that push, but the tower is reasonably healthy. And also, you got Zig. He's actually getting some opportunity to free farm himself to try and get some pressure down on the bot turret.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can decide to push this. But unfortunately, Graves and Janna, they're ready for him. So, you know, PewDiePie, he should be able to just push all day and stop that push. They are going to get some nice free damage before they get there, but even so, it will even out, and it's going to be really difficult for them to push down this tower.
Yep. Let's talk about Scar. Let's talk about Paradoxical for a little bit too, because let's take a look at the gold. How far apart are they? Not very at all, actually. They're about like 50 gold separating the two of them. So.
Wait, who has the advantage though?
Who cares? It's 50 gold. It's 50 gold. That's like a potion.
Oh, but it's 50 gold in Scar's favor. So, you know, really putting on the pressure against Paradoxical there in the mid lane.
He's got that extra soda.
Yeah.
He's got a soda up on him.
Yeah, they're really even right now, but Scar is close to finishing off that, you know, Deathfire, so that's going to be huge. Paradoxical, you know, bought some wards, bought some health pots, so he's a little bit behind there, but not really. So we'll see, you know, how that factors in. But I don't know, first one to finish wins the game, so we'll see.
Yeah. So actually, not even going for it, just has the lucky pick just for the GP10. Ooh. You see Paradoxical actually going for that needlessly large rod.
Yeah, so, that's really interesting.
Yeah, be a Death Cap or even the Zoni's Hourglass. You got options. You can see where the rest of the team fights go. You know, if you're being focused down too much, the Hourglass might actually be a good pick. But you know, there hasn't really been too many huge team fights yet to try and discern that. But Dignitas with their push in the mid, trying to get some extra damage onto the mid turret. It's halfway down. They can force it out with a few minion waves.
Yeah, and if he is going with that Zonia's, I actually kind of like this pickup from Paradoxical because it's very interesting. We've been seeing Deathfires and Abyssal Scepter is basically the standard Ori build right now, and it's so strong. You have so much killing potential. It's fantastic for team fights. You have a lot of survivability. However, Ari is playing against a double snare, so the lockdown from the Twisted Advance from Maokai and from Zyra as well, Ari could very quickly go down in these fights. So Paradoxical, he wants to be extremely aggressive, and in order to be aggressive enough against Dignitas' team, he might need that Zonia's. So if he decides to finish off that Zonia's, it'll allow him to ult back into the backline, try and pick up the kill on Zyra, but then hopefully not die in the process. And that's kind of why we've been seeing, you know, some GAs outside of M5 onto Ari, so you can, you know, still assassinate the backline and not have to worry about getting yourself killed. But Zonia's does the exact same thing and still gives you some damage on top.
It's a pretty good item. It's a fantastic item, and you know, a lot of champs like, you know, Morgana is pretty much a key item to have. Kennen works great well with it as well. If you're an AP carry, if you're getting focused, give it a shot. Give it a consideration. You know, active items, you got to learn how to use those sometime. So in the meantime, though, you do have Crumbs still pushing up against tower. You see the shield just melting away every single time he comes on in.
Yeah, so really nice job up top from Crumbs and pulling ahead of Zion Spartan. So just slightly, but you know, it's still an advantage. And to get Crumbs back in this game, 115 CS, 15 minutes in, Paradoxical going for the kill, but the knock-up from Skara, from Patoy, that is one powerful whirlwind. The follow-up, they're able to pick that up.
That was a huge misstep from Para, and you saw him try and spirit rush over the wall into the dragon pit. Was just too far away, could not close that gap, and he was not hugging that wall. He was just in the wrong position for that engage, for that fight, and the rest of the team wasn't with him. He was off on his own trying to engage that, and it just did not work. And Dignitas, with that, knowing the AP carry is down, will go ahead, grab that tier 1 in the mid, fall on back, and you saw Dynamic, they're huddling a little bit around Dragon, but they do have that ward down for when it respawns. Actually, both teams do, and actually there's a lot of decent ward coverage, and also not to mention those saplings coming in from Maokai. They're nice little mini wards of themselves. They just happen to explode.
Yeah, they should be able to take down this dragon. Dynamic should if they go for it, but they're a little bit concerned. Dignitas, they're still not sure where Dignitas is exactly. They could force a strong engage, but we'll see if they pressure it. But it has been a fantastic job of Dignitas to catch themselves back up in this game. Olaf in particular, Crumbs in the top lane. He's been farming fantastically. 122 CS now, compared with the 30 CS he was at like the 8-minute mark. So 30 CS at 8 minutes. Now he's at 16 minutes with 120. I know that's not exactly right, but even so, he was under a lot of pressure, and he's been able to pull himself back into this game. The rest of Dignitas as well. Scar putting pressure on the mid lane was, a huge catalyst for this success from Dignitas. We'll see if they can pull it around. They have pulled the dragon now, so they might actually force this fight.
They're trying to get something here under the nose of Dynamic. Crumbs actually going on ahead, getting some free damage onto Zig and ducking in and out, trying to get his kite on. Atlanta out in front. You do not want to be losing that Oracles. He's going down very quick. Dragon forms in. He's going to be sacrificing himself, but even with the Lulu, he can't do a whole lot. Pixel's very low as well. Paradox will try and get the Spirit Rush. It is back up, trying to get some extra damage, but Zig focusing down Crumbs. He did pop the ult. He's trying to get away, and it looks like he may very well be able to. Paradox will try and retreat. Scar will not be able to close that gap, and Dominate got very low on his own. Zion Spartan is also isolated, but should actually make it back to the lane safely.
Yeah, Crumbs with just a sliver left, and Dignitas, they're going to try and grab this. Paradox bursting down Dominate, and then actually taking back the blue with the W. So really nice play there. Cutie Pie chasing after Zion Spartan now, who's trying to zone in on Scar, but Cutie Pie way out of position. He doesn't have a flash. If he can pick up the skill with Janna's help, he does grab the Zion Spartan, but unfortunately goes down himself. And so Corki, oh wow, Corki didn't get the red buff. The red buff died just at the last second. So that's actually unfortunate, but yeah. So a really nice turnaround from Dynamic. Have pulled it back to an even gold lead despite Dignitas pulling ahead.
And yeah, it's huge. That was a fantastic fight. Dignitas just stayed a little bit. Well, Dignitas just stayed a little bit way too long in there, and Dominic getting caught, just kissed by that orb. It was just a fantastic play from Para, but Atlanta was the first one into that fight. And with that Dragon Form, with that engage, he did die. He did lose that Oracles. We'll see if he can recover from there. Zyro down with the ult. Atlanta is going to actually get caught out again. Granted, did get the tower, but I'm not sure if that death was really worth it.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was no Oracles to be lost.
Yeah.
It was a free, tower for a kill. Not that big of a deal. He probably could have backed up and gotten out of there sooner, but it's still in the Dynamic's favor.
Yeah. So we'll see where they go from there, though. You do have Lulu actually doubling back. Pixel's a little bit caught out in his own jungle, though. Did he see? He saw, don't believe he actually saw Scar.
Yeah, and the big thing for Dignitas right now is reclaiming that lead. They can, run around the map, try and pressure Dynamic some, but Dynamic, because Dignitas, they got a little bit greedy. Zion Spartan, actually might be able to pick up the kill on the Scar. Has to get out of the twisted advance, the snare with the follow-up. He's going down very quickly. Cutie Pie chasing him down. The ultimate from Zion Spartan, just barely able to get out of there.
Yeah.
But Dignitas, the last fight, they'd won the fight. They were trying to press their advantage. They really wanted to just abuse Dynamic, and they weren't able to do it. So as a result, just being a little too greedy. Now Dynamic, all of a sudden, they get a lot of pressure on this mid tower. It's going to be very low, and then they can get out safely. But they do have Lulu and Shyvana joining them, so they might just decide to fight this.
Atlanta, he's now here. Can they actually chunk this out enough? Actually, just remember what happened last time. Actually, just going to choose to back off, retreat through the jungle. And in the meantime, though, you do have Crumbs grabbing the top tier 1 amidst all of this chaos, amidst this rush, the marathon across the map to try and just get to the mid tower just to safety. But you also do see Atlanta actually taking the opportunity here to get a little bit of a split push on. He's going to be burning out. He's going to go ahead and get that huge wave, in addition to a bunch of damage onto that tower if left undefended. But it seems that Cutie Pie is actually making his way on down.
Yeah, so Cutie Pie can come down. It's 20 minutes, so there's not a real threat of Baron at this point. They can pressure it. Crumbs chasing down Zion Spartan actually has a lot of damage despite that Sunfires from Zion Spartan, but Corki is in pursuit. Zion Spartan doesn't have the ultimate, though. He's getting very low, but he can still bait it in and then turn around with Zig. Crumbs will be able to get out of there, though.
Yep.
So they will be safe. But the big thing for both AD carries is to continue up their farm, and they're both very strong right now. Graves has a slight advantage, having that Infinity Edge. His damage output in fights is going to be incredible, but we'll see how Cutie Pie can continue to pressure it. He is very vulnerable to Malphite, and that's a concern, having Graves versus the Malphite. Because of the short range of Graves, Malphite could potentially engage a little bit more easily, shut down his AD very effectively with that attack speed slow.
Now let's talk a little bit more about those AD carries too, because we have a different choice in builds here. You've got the Infinity Edge versus the Bloodthirster. You hear about this a lot, and really it's like, which is it situational? Which one do you buy? Does it go with certain builds? Do some actually work better with some characters here? Why do you think they actually with their purchases here?
Infinity Edge is a little bit cheaper, and the big thing is that Zig, he wants to transition into that Triforce, and so Infinity Edge isn't cheaper. Bloodthirster is a little bit cheaper. Zig, he wants to transition into that Triforce, and Bloodthirster and Triforce is a very common build. It's very strong. It gives you a lot of burst potential that you are missing with Infinity Edge because you don't have quite as much burst as you would with, with Bloodthirster. You don't have quite as much burst as you would with an Infinity Edge. Infinity Edge gives you a lot more burst output. It gives you a lot more sustained DPS. And Dignitas, they're going to be able to grab this tower. The Flash Twisted Advance dominate way underneath the turret, but actually Paradoxical almost going down, just barely able to back out of there. And Dignitas is able to pressure this tower very easily.
That was a lot of damage and one of the longest Maokai Twisted Advances I think I've ever seen. That was a lot of distance clears. Like, oh, I'm going to engage at you at tier 2. Why are we at the inhibitor? And all of a sudden
Lulu just barely able to keep Paradoxical alive with the ultimate, and he just had a tiny sliver of health left.
Well-timed, incredibly well-timed there from Pixel. But you do see Dynamic, they're still looking to mobilize here, may actually getting a little bit aggressive. They have really no wards though on them except for Lulu, who's not quite with the rest of the team just yet, but does have the oracles. Did rebuy it in Atlanta's Steed, so they're going to have that counter warding capabilities there. But you see Dynamic just looking to push up in mid. They might try and force other objectives here. They may get those wards down. Are they going to go for it? Are they going to decide to rush this?
I would be very surprised if they did. Just so they're not going to. They're going to back off. But another advantage of having that Bloodthirster, just to finish that off real quick, is that if you have a fight and you win the fight, Bloodthirster, it allows you to heal up after the fight, or if there's any poke damage or anything, you can heal up. So they will be safe there. Scar getting some nice damage on Zion Spartan, they'll be fine. Being able to be full health after a fight or after a small skirmish, it allows you to then have a larger fight or then take objectives or something and still, be fine. So that's something that Infinity Edge doesn't give you. Dignitas, in the meantime, they're going to transition to bots or to the Dragon, so they're going to be able to take this. There's not a big threat of Dynamic taking Baron. They have vision in the mid lane, so Ahri walking past the little seedling there, they will see her, or ward actually.
Yep, with that quick advantage, Dignitas is swoop on in, grab that dragon. They can grab the blue themselves too. Nice seed in the brush just to make sure no one's coming. And Crumb's out there running the flank as well, just to make sure that no one's in that bush. And then it's like, come Scar, come on, take it. He's just like Dominus is like, yeah, I think you want this. Like, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. So now with that, Dignitas is go ahead and continue their push up in the mid. Twisted Advance actually going down onto the Ahri. Scar trying to pick up with all the rest of the damage. The ult not going to be getting anything on that. And Dominic is actually very low. Head on into this fight. Crumb's out there on the back line looking to retreat. Paradoxical does still have the Spirit Rush available, but not going to be able to connect with the rest of the damage. The cooldown does go on up, and Atlanta out in front burning out. Does have the Dragon form available, but there were no kill opportunities there, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we'll see. They should be okay, though, because Zyra has a lot of spammability even without her ultimate, and they have a very defensive team. It seems like they might lose this lane just because of how low it is. Dynamic can come and push it down very quickly with the next minion wave, but we'll see. Oh, they're actually just
why wait? Why wait for that? Zion Spartan, you're made of rock. Go for it. Just go.
Yeah, so they're going to take it very easily. Dignitas, they have a very defensive team in nature for their team fights. So other than Maokai, they don't really have the strongest initiation. Zyra can as well, but for the most part, they want to allow Dynamic to engage upon them, and then they're going to be very reflexive. Janna will be able to provide some defense, and then Zyra as well. In the meantime, though, Dynamic, they're pressuring the Baron. It is dropping very quickly.
Ward's going down over in the river. Dignitas knows, but here comes the Malphite with the ult straight out in front. You do have the Maokai ult still also down, reducing a lot of damage, but Dynamic, they do have quite a bit of burst, but their front line carries, they are gone. Zion Spartan and Atlanta, they have fallen. All that damage going down, but you still have a few tanky champs here from Dignitas, and now after taking that fight, it's like, well, you have no front line. You've got no beef. we can go ahead and just take this Baron right out from under you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Dignitas wants to happen in fights. Like I was saying, they have a very defensive, reactionary team. So they want to allow Dynamic to force the fights and to engage. They do have to worry that they're going to get poked down here, though. Crumb's very low, and Paradoxical jumping over the wall gets up the quick kill. So really nice job, just pressuring it a little bit too much. Actually, the quick kill from Scar, and then the twisted advance onto Corki. Corki is able to Valkyrie out of there just as Cutie Pie was about to pick up that kill. But the big thing with Dignitas, they need to allow Dynamic to force the fights, and then they have this nice tanky defensive team. Janna will protect their AD carries. Skara can kite with Zyra. That's where Zyra's strength is, with kiting with her E, and they can just retreat, just constantly retreat from Dynamic until they pick someone off, and that's really where Dignitas' goal is, and that's kind of why Olaf is strong. Even though Olaf doesn't have a backline target, he's a really strong frontline champion who can just hold down the front line. He can duel with whoever's up front, and they can burst down Malphite and Shyvana when they walk into the team like that.
It just really hit me too. Like, I didn't realize how short of a cooldown the Zyra ult is. Like,
yeah,
that's just like a minute 15, minute 20 at level 2. It's like that. Those exchanges went on long enough where that first use of the ult, it was long enough where I was like, let's re-engage a Baron. And the ult came back up just in time. It was great.
And the best thing about Zyra is she's not a very ult-dependent champion. No. Yes, she is a lot stronger with her ultimate, but you can function perfectly in a team fight with just her snare. She has plenty of damage with just her snare. It's on a very short cooldown itself, so she can kite very easily.
All right, so you do have Dynamic looking to still try and get some push, try and get some damage, and everyone's come on back. They have their frontline tanks once again, but after having a fight like that, just realizing, it's like, man, we went down a little bit quicker than expected during that one. But maybe should have actually stuck around. Nice, seed in the brush there to actually find out the Dynamic. And you do have Zion Spartan there. Actually built himself an Abyssal. So if he's still around, Ari's going to be doing a lot more damage after building up through that death cap and actually working for a DFG of her own there. But you also do see here an Abyssal and the Rabadons there on to Skara, onto Zyra. So that's mutual damage.
Yeah, and Malphite getting the Abyssal Scepter is an incredibly strong item on Zion Spartan, and it will add to Ari's damage as well. It is kind of interesting seeing the Rabadons, and paradoxically, he does like that Rabadons on a lot of champions, but it has hurt him some in the past, particularly when he was playing Morgana, if anyone remembers IPL 4.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of shied away from getting the fast Rabadons, but Dignitas, Malphite is up top. He's trying to retreat as quickly as he can, and Dominate is just going to tank this turret for him as the minions walk up. They're going to get some quick damage onto the tower. Atlanta almost going down, and will have to back off, so Dynamic might not be able to force this.
Paradoxical is right on the side, trying to get the flank on, trying to catch someone off guard, but Crumbs is a little bit tanky. He's not the one you really want to focus down here. He's not going to be getting anyone more, anyone really squishy here. And nice work in the positioning of Dignitas. Managed to get, how much did he get? More than half. Yeah. Nice quick engage. But look at this, a transition so cleanly here in the bot lane. That one they'll be able to get pretty convincingly.
Yeah, looking for opportunities to push is huge, but the flash in, Skara trying to pick up the kill there, can't quite grab it. Malphite is coming in from behind, so it seems that Dynamic might try and force this. The ultimate in, but he misses everyone. Shyvana is here as well, but Skara is kiting perfectly. Paradoxical getting into the back line. Skara does go down, but Paradoxical as well, and Patoy, he should be okay. Throws off the whirlwind, is kiting to Atlanta here. Crumbs will take him down, and Cutie Pie, unperturbed in the back line, will be able to pick up a couple of kills. Now they can transition. Patoy is still alive. They can, maybe pick up some objectives, grab the blue buff, for example, and then continue pushing.
That ult from Malphite was just a hair away from picking up more champs on that, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. And it's still a very tricky area to try and engage on, because it's just like downward going on. Is like that road's like at an angle. It's not just a straight on shot if you want to try and get someone with that ult.
Yeah, really nice job from Dignitas, constantly pushing against Dynamic, looking for opportunities to push, because they know they have a short-range team. Graves can struggle with pushing, but if you look for those opportunities, you can get towers very quickly so that Dynamic can't stall. Then you have one of the strengths of Zyra is her pushing capabilities. And, yes, everyone understands if you have a bunch of seedlings attacking a tower, that's going to be great. But the cool thing about Zyra is that a lot of times pushes stall against AoE clearers. And you have an AoE clearer, they're just going to kill the creep wave instantly, and then you can't push anymore. Well, Zyra, you throw down seedlings over time. You get all 4 seedlings there. The opponent, they can't kill them because if they walk out to kill them, then you just snare them and kill them yourself. So you get an easy kill. So those seedlings, they just sit there and wait until you're ready for them. After AoE clear clears the minion wave, then you sprout the seedlings, and they need a second AoE clear. And usually you only have 1 AoE clear. You usually don't have enough to clear 2 waves.
I have a feeling here that Dynamic is having a little bit of an Akbar moment. It's like, oh my God, it's warded. We didn't check these. We didn't clear these. It's a trap. Get out of here.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. See, the sapling's also going down as well. The great convenient wards from the man that is the tree that is Maokai. But also Batoy getting on in there, just it's a little bit dangerous though. It's a little bit of a risky situation to try and clear that ward because Dynamic is still very close behind. One shot onto the Baron will just aggravate him enough. And when the Baron is aggravated, when he's attacked, he attacks the closest thing next to him. And that in that instance was actually Patoy. Just took a nice quick chomp there and will not actually be able to clear that ward just yet.
Yeah, and so Dynamic doing a nice job with that presence around Baron. They have the 1 ward, but then they're constantly pushing the waves, and they need to keep the waves pushed in order to stop them from pushing. Bot lane is pushing against them though, so they have to kind of deal with that. Shyvana's probably the best target to go down there if they decide to clear it. Oh no, it's actually pushing for them. So Dynamic has the momentum there. We'll see if Dignitas decides to clear it or not. They need to get someone down there to stimmy that wave, but it could open up an opportunity for Dynamic. And so as a result, Dynamic, they're setting up by the Baron because they know they want to pressure Dignitas and allow bot to do its work.
Yep, so if they can just go ahead and get someone off guard, like Dominate out front, they're actually half of his health. There, just gone in an instant. Forcing the ult as well, but you're going to see Paradoxal actually going on over the ridge. You got the Spirit Rush still going on. And Scar, everyone from Dignitas is a little bit split here, and Scar is actually going to be going pretty quick, but along with that passive, going to help kill up so many kills there. Double kill for Cutie Pie already. And you got Dominate getting part of action as well. Right now, Dynamic, they're just being cleaned up here. That is the ace. And a triple for Cutie Pie.
If you can rewind that
I
again,
would love to.
That was actually a really cool fight for both teams. And if you start off at the beginning, Paradoxical, right off at the beginning, catches off Skara. And so right here, by then the second dash, all of a sudden, Skara is out of position. And completely separated. So Dynamic, Paradoxical coming into the backline, forces 2 members out of the way. However, Scar is still able to get a lot of damage, and Cutie Pie had enough time to come around the backside, and there's no one affecting Cutie Pie.
Nope.
As a result, Cutie Pie was just able to lay waste to the rest of Dynamic and just able to easily take them down. And, even though they had no retreat path, so they were able to pick up the kill into Zyra, but they forced the fight, and they had no retreat path against Dignitas, and Scar got off all of his abilities. So even though they trapped him, he still was able to get what he needed to do done. They are able to grab the Baron, they're able to back off, and they are just way ahead of Dynamic right now. They can push in very easily with Scar, and now here's the benefit. They've already taken a number of towers, and mid is almost dead. So they don't have to waste the Baron buff stalling. It's going to be very easy for them to come and pressure that mid turret, and it'll be difficult for Dynamic to stall off long enough to keep their inhibitor.
But what they're going to do, they're going to try and do what they can. You have Zig actually getting very far out, just wants to push the lane, just wants to delay the inevitable as much as he possibly can. The Baron buff is actually a fourth of the way done. You still got 3 minutes left on that thing, but that's just going to be an eternity right here for Dynamic to just try and defend against. And but Scar is actually still back at base. There we go. Had to wait for he was actually picking up a Giant's Belt, so probably going to be seeing that into a well, if we ever get to that point, probably a Royal Eyes.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see how he's going to decide to build. The big thing is it gives him the health to survive through that initial burst, and the Rylai's would be a very strong build as well. But for mostly, he just wants HP. He just wants to be able to survive their initial burst and then still get off his combo. He got it off last time, but maybe next time he's not so lucky. So definitely a nice decision on his part. They know they already have plenty of damage to deal with Dynamic, and Dynamic has no means of taking down these tanky frontline champions, Maokai and Olaf. And so Dignitas, they can set up in this top lane. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't push the mid. However, at the top lane, they have the potential to engage past the turret and not screw themselves over.
And you see, that was weird. Scar is actually there on the edge, and the tower actually drew aggro onto him. It's kind of an odd interaction, but you do have Dynamic here to looking to defend. You got Paradoxical actually off to the side looking to try and see if he can't chase out Scar. And there you go, sees him real quick. You got the DFG popping as well. But Science Sparta with that ult is actually going to go ahead and finish the job. But Toy is also caught out a little bit too. He's very weak. And Science Sparta, he does have the Lulu on him. He's trying to get what he can. Crumbs manages to take care of Zig, of Corky. And Science Sparta is now very, very weak. Double kill coming in for Crumbs. The Ari will fall, and Dignitas is taking this one and just rolling with it.
Yeah, Dignitas is just way too strong right now. And the big thing is that fight went about as well as you could expect for Dynamic. Paradoxical coming in, burst down Scar a little bit, then backing off. That's a surrender. Dynamic losing game number 2. So Dignitas with the win. It will be even up 1-1 in this series. We'll see where they go from here. But the big thing with that last fight, Paradoxical, he was able to force Scar into a dangerous situation again, bursting him down, allowing Zion Spartan to pick him up really quickly. So Scar is instantly dead. Then Paradoxical did a really nice job. He ulted in one more time and then started walking away and actually baited Maokai away from the rest of the team. So Paradoxical was able to force Maokai from the rest of the team. Now all of a sudden, it's a 4v3 for Dynamic in their favor. However, Graves and Olaf were so powerful at that point in the game. They just had so much damage and were so tanky. In the backline, Cutie Pie, again, no one pressuring Cutie Pie. And because Malphite is forced to use the ultimate to take down Skara, there's no way of initiating onto Cutie Pie. He's safe in the backline. He's incredibly farmed, and he's just laying waste to the entire Dynamic front line. And so even though they're able to burst down Skara with some nice plays there, they left open Cutie Pie. And Cutie Pie, no pressure whatsoever. He was able to just clean house. Same thing with Skara. Skara was just right in the middle of the team, just going to work.
And it was very established early on that Dynamics front line significantly less tanky in comparison.
Yeah.
They just, they just melted completely under the pressure. But you know what? Like I mentioned before, this is Grand Finals. This is the best of 5. There's still plenty of time to go ahead and come back from that. We're going to get Game 3 set up for you in just a second, and we will be right back. The IPL Elites NA Grand Finals, Game 3, Dynamic and Dignitas coming on up.